Welcome back to Bloomberg This Weekend. I'm Christina Ruffini.
And I'm David Gura. The AI transition may be faster, bigger, and more disruptive than the Industrial Revolution, Martha Gimbel writes. She's the director of the Yale Budget Lab. But if we want to have a flourishing economy and society on the other side, learning from what our predecessors went through is even more important this time around. And that is exactly what literature is there to help us do.
So in this week's forecast, Gimbel suggests a handful of novels from the 19th century that she says can help us navigate technology changes in the 21st century. And she's joining us now. Martha, thank you so much for being here. First of all, what are your thoughts? How much do we know about how much AI is going to disrupt the labor market, economy, and society?
We really have no idea, right? You have a range of predictions out there, but at this point, we're all just guessing. And so I think rather than all of us sitting in our offices and pontificate and trying to figure this out better than the next person, it's really useful to kind of take a step back and think about where we've been.
Before we get to your recommendations, the books that you recommend, what broadly can history tell us about the moment that we're in right now? We're constantly bombarded with people saying this is novel terrain. AI is going to be even more revolutionary than anything we've experienced in the past. How much does history offer good counsel?
I think the thing that we really learn from history, right, is that no matter what the size of the disruption, no matter how quickly it happens, it's disruptive. And there are people who benefit and there are people who suffer. And society has to figure out how to deal with it. We haven't yet had a technological revolution where society as a whole wasn't better off at the end of it. But that doesn't mean that that was true for everyone. And that doesn't mean that people were better off immediately. The transitions are hard and a lot of people suffer during them.
Yeah, in this article, you say you're grateful for the Industrial Revolution, but you wouldn't have wanted to live through it. This is not encouraging for this moment that we're in right now. So what are the lessons from the past on how to endure changes at times of upheaval like this?
I mean, I think one of the things and the themes that you see coming up repeatedly in literature and in discussions at the time is kind of what is society's and the individual's responsibility in a time of change? You can be someone who is just thinking about what this means for you and trying to navigate it that way. But the people who hold on and the people who do the best are the ones who are thinking about what this means for, in the 19th century, their village, but their broader community and how they fit in as part of that.
Let's tick through these, starting with a book by Elizabeth Gaskell. Why is North and South one that you've recommended? So
North and South is sort of the usual Industrial Revolution novel that everyone goes to. I should say it's one of my favorites. But one of the great things about North and South is it's about a woman who moves north from the south of England, who is really not familiar with what is going on from an industrial perspective. She's moving from a more agricultural environment. She herself is not economically affected by what's going on, but because she is a neutral observer, she can kind of see how things are changing and, how the new capitalists are interacting with their workers. What's the new sort of power and agency that workers were feeling at the time and how that gets really complicated. And she has to figure out what's good from the new version of the economy that she wants to bring into her life and what she wants to hold on to from the old.
We also have Shirley by Charlotte Bronte and A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And we were speaking before in the break. I am a longtime Dickens hater, and you said you're not a fan of the Brontes, but you put them on your list. Why?
I did. I have to admit, I'm not a Brontes person. They can be very emotion heavy, for lack of a better phrasing. But I think the thing that's really interesting about Shirley is it is fundamentally about a textile mill owner trying to figure out how to navigate the new moment. And he's trying to figure out, what is his responsibility from an economics perspective, but also still being there for his workers, for people in his community. But also one of the things I think is really interesting in Shirley is it talks about the role that the Napoleonic Wars and the export restrictions played in what happened. And that made a huge difference in the path of the Industrial Revolution for people. And it's really interesting to see him kind of work that throughout the book.
In that moment of the Industrial Revolution, there were the Luddites, those who were pushing back so actively against this kind of technological progress. What can we learn from them as they were featured in many of these books?
I mean, I think one thing that you've seen in these conversations about AI is sometimes you hear people saying, this is new, this has never happened to high paid workers before, workers who do prestigious work. And I think the unfortunate thing for many white collar workers to realize is the weavers were the white collar workers of their day. If you read about their lives, they had flexible work schedules. Sometimes they decided to take the day off and work from Brighton. I mean, it sounds similar.
Because it was
right?
portable, right? They could go anywhere. They could be outside, they could be inside, and that all changed.
Right. And they had control over their hours. Some of them only worked 4 days a week. I mean, again, as I'm talking, I think to a lot of people, this is going to sound somewhat familiar. And then all of a sudden, there was this huge hit that they didn't see coming. And they had to adjust. And unfortunately, that adjustment did not go well for most of them.
All right, Martha Gimbel, thank you so much.
Thank you,
I will
Martha.
try to take inspiration and stop being a Luddite when it comes to AI. But we really appreciate your perspective. You can read more about this story and get a jump start on your week ahead with the Forecast newsletter. Subscribe at Bloomberg.com/newsletters.